Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenn Vo, and I'm super excited. I ran into my buddy here, Dr. Nate Jeal. We're here at the Dental Well Business Summit at the Aria Hotel and Casino. Before we get into this next episode, I'd like to give a shout out to one of our premier sponsors, On Diem. So dental staffing doesn't have to be hard. If you're short on staff, you need someone to temp in your practice, On Diem is an online platform that makes it really easy. I've used it myself for dental hygienists in my practice. Reach out to them. We have a Nifty Thrifty deal, and make sure that you're always staffed. Use On Diem. Now, if you're wondering, why is there music in the background? That's not a new thing. All right, they're playing music here, right? We're in a casino. If you hear people yelling, they might have won something, maybe lost something. So that I just want to preface that. But Nate, man, it's been a while. And here's the thing, man. There's like so many things going on. So Dr. Nate and his wife are very active on social media. They're dropping like knowledge bombs left and right. If you guys are in any of the Facebook groups, you've seen some of his posts. But let's talk about some of it. What are the big issues right now going on in dentistry, man? This always seems like now more than ever, people are having more issues, in their practice, whether it's like marketing, whether it's like systems, whether it's like dealing with their team. Let's talk about that. What are some of the big things that you've seen, in the posts that you and your wife have commented on and helped other doctors out? What are some of the things you've seen?
You know what, Glenn, first of all, great seeing you, and thank you. This is really cool to be able to connect you like this. But in terms of what's going on in the industry, there's always a million things going on, it seems like. And to me, it's almost like information overload. And I do think that that's one of the challenges that dentists have to deal with is, where do you even start, right? Because, there's information everywhere. And we've gone from, say, maybe 20 years ago, you had like none of this, right? None of this social media stuff. Conferences were just boring, your grandfather's conference. And then now we are with information at our fingertips on literally everything. Yeah. And I think that it's actually overwhelming.
Yeah. People get paralyzed from that.
Like, what do you do, right?
They're like, oh, hey, how do I do this? And they get like 10 freaking comments.
Yes.
And then you're like, what's right? And then they end up not doing anything.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly it. And so we can get trapped into this, having ideas, right? But anybody can have an idea. But there's a big difference between an idea and a plan. A plan is something you can execute on. An idea is something that we can do that over a drink. But they're different things. And so I think with the overload of info, it sparks ideas, and we kind of get stuck there because it doesn't necessarily lead into a plan that can be executed on. That's what I think is one of the big challenges. And we can go deep on that. It might be, something like, when we look at the dental industry, there's so much technology out there. There's so much CE out there.
Oh, gosh.
Right? And
we just walked through this conference hall.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, okay, there's this AI here, this new service. You're walking through, and it's like, okay, what am I supposed to get? And by the time you walk through that and you got to get into the lunch line, you don't even know what you want to eat anymore.
Well, that's it. And let me say something that would probably immediately piss off all the sponsors at the event is you don't need a single one of those things to operate your dental practice.
Yeah.
Not even one, right? What we really need, in my view, to achieve new levels of success in practice is to learn how to be a great communicator. And I think that's what it comes down to. And there's no CE, clinical CE course. There's no new technology that's going to make you more relatable to your patients.
Yeah.
None of that stuff is going to teach you how to sell another case. But if you want to grow your practice, it's about closing more cases.
Man, amen to that, man, because, I've heard so many people, they feel like there's like this shortcut. And I'm sure you've heard this from your own coaching clients, people who come to your seminars. They think that there's a shortcut, like, hey, maybe if I go to this implant class and I start placing these implants, maybe if I bought an iTero, maybe if I did all these other things other than the basics. And that's the thing, a lot of dentists, they end up spending a ton of money.
Yeah.
And really, you're saying it's really basics, right? Being able to communicate, being able to get case acceptance.
I believe it's the basics, exactly that. And I think that if we can focus on developing ourselves and our own ability to communicate and interact with people, if we can focus on developing our team to make them stronger in the same regard, it's not really take another implant course. And I say that with all respect to people teaching. There's some excellent stuff out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely excellent. But if you've taken one implant course, taking 10 more is not going to make you do more implants, right?
It's not going to get them. It's not going to get your patient to accept a treatment. It's not going to get your team to buy in too. And I love that you just actually brought up the team, because a lot of times when we talk about communication, doctors automatically think, oh, you mean get case acceptance, right? No, man, it means like being able to talk to everybody, right? Including your team, because how many times have we seen a post someone says, oh, my team member, like they want to leave for an extra $1.
Yeah.
Or my team member wants
all
this.
the time. Yeah.
And it's like this big rant, and we're all just sitting back here thinking, oh, I wonder if it's a communication issue.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what it is, the communication issue. And much related to this, I would say, is the concept of value. And I think this is deeply misunderstood in dentistry. How many times have you heard a doctor say, my patients don't value that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
But it's not true. And the truth is that some of your patients don't value it.
Yeah.
But some of them do. And the magic is being able to distinguish between these two different groups. Because every practice I've ever had, and tell me if you'd agree, there's a group of people who are non-buyers because they don't value it, and there's a group of people who are buyers because they do, and the magic is being able to know who's who.
Yeah, exactly. And so, for those who are watching right now and they're thinking, okay, all right, Dr. Nay, I get it, right? You got to be a good communication, I get it, but I'm an introvert. Like I'm
introvert.
I'm an introvert. Like how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to be a better communicator if I just naturally just a quiet person? And what do you say to those people?
Well, you know what? I mean, truth is, I'm an introvert. I'm a naturally quiet person, and I've tried to train myself to be able to talk with people and to learn to enjoy it. So that's part of it. I mean, you're never going to force yourself to enjoy something you just hate. Okay, but if you're in the practice of dentistry, and if your role is as a dentist who is providing solutions to patients, then it's kind of incumbent on us just to kind of get over some of those hurdles. And I'm not saying toughen up, and I'm not saying suck it up, but I am saying that if we go into our conversations with patients with a plan to convert them, with a plan to help them, then it means that we have to develop some degree of skill around the art of communication. And I don't mean educating our patients more, by the way. I'm not talking about educating people. And it's another really misunderstood thing, right? Value in patient education.
Like go in there and just explain, this is what an implant is again, or something,
I don't think that really helps. What really helps is if we can empathetically, if we can show that we understand our patients and what's important to them. And that's how we discover value, by the way, right? By really listening, by understanding what is important to our patients, knowing that some of them care and some of them don't, and they're both good people, but only one of them is going to be a buyer.
First of all, thank you so much for sharing that you're an introvert, because honestly, I've known this guy for a while. I would have never, ever guessed that. But the thing is that, whenever you want to grow as when you were trying to become a better dentist, when we're all dental students, we try to do our first prep, man, it probably sucked, right? Like it was terrible, right? But you do it enough times to get better, and you go through this uncomfortable experience. And again, it just kind of sounds like if you have a deficiency in communication skills, the first thing is to identify. The second thing is to work with someone like Nate here, and start developing and go through that uncomfortable process. Because honestly, I mean, you were saying, you're an introvert, but I wouldn't have guessed it. But I'm sure you didn't just wake up one day and say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to start talking and stuff like that. You actually had to work at it.
Well, a story from dental school years ago. Okay, I was in dental school and I told one of my clinical instructors, I said, when I'm done with dental school, I think I want to do implants. And he goes, yeah, right. How are you going to do that? And my answer at the time was, well, I'm going to talk to people. Okay, that's what I told him in dental school. And that's, in a way, that's kind of always been back in my mind in developing how am I going to develop the business inside of my dental practice. And it's always going to be around talking to people, because that's really what it's about, right? I mean, people can choose from, in any given town or city, hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dentists. And why are they going to choose you? Why are they going to choose me or you, Glenn, right? And so it's going to come down to what we can provide in terms of elements of service, but also around the art of communication, right?
Rapport,
and rapport, yeah. I think of dentistry in many respects as kind of performance art, and it does pay. Imagine going to a Broadway play and people didn't know their lines. I mean, how ridiculous would it be, right? And so in dentistry, why would we not approach it the same way? If there is an element of performance art here where our patients want to come to a place where the team is confident, where there's an atmosphere of excellence and people know their job, well, when everybody knows their lines and their role, I mean, you got to put these pieces together. And so for me, it's not even a question of introversion. As an introvert, I don't naturally derive my energy from being around a whole bunch of people. And that's really what introversion means. I'm just not like that. I'm a one-on-one kind of guy. But I would distinguish introversion and being shy. And if you're shy as a dentist, then it's going to come across to your patients perhaps not in the way that you intend, but they are very likely to interpret as a lack of confidence. And I think we just got to get past that, because that's going to be a big hurdle when it comes to closing more cases.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, tell us, you have an event coming up. And again, all these things, I love your philosophy of just going back to basics, right? Like, you can get a whole bunch of you can spend a lot of money on a lot of cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that's not going to change. That's not going to move the needle unless you get the basics down. So I love this new focus on this seminar that you're going to do, this course you're going to do about, going back to the basics. Talk about that, and talk about what are attendees going to get from that, and who should be coming? Is it the doctors? Is it doctors in the teams? Who's the audience here?
Yeah. No, excellent question. And let me say, I think that communication in dentistry is really the antidote to CE that doesn't get used, to technology that doesn't do the job, right?
Yeah.
To marketing that doesn't work. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
It's all around conversion and communication. And so if we nail that, then we nail the business. We do have a course coming up, two in fact, one in Southern California, on the 29th of October, one in Dallas, your home, 5th of November. And so we call it the 100K Academy, and that's really following in line with a course that my wife and I have been teaching on our $100,000 Invisalign Day protocol.
Oh, nice.
And so this is it's a big day, needless to say, right? So, high five figures into a six-figure range in a single day in the dental office is, it's nothing to laugh at, nothing to sneeze at all. But we've really codified that, and so we've boiled that down to a templated system for how do you market for a big event, right? What do you do in the office to be able to convert people in a face-to-face selling situation? And so that's what the course is all about. But more importantly, we're going to be teaching the principles behind it, though, so that it's not just a one and done shot. So doing $100,000 in a day in the practice is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but wouldn't it be even awesomer, even more awesome, if it wasn't just a single day event, where if we could take those principles and put them into place in practice to extend it, to sustain that kind of success. I'm not saying any dentist, including myself, is going to do $100,000 every day, but what I am saying is if we can get the quick win and show ourselves that the horizon is a little bit bigger, that the possibilities are a little bit bigger than what we thought, right? So that's the concept of the $100,000 day, and then take those principles that underlie that and apply them every single day to be able to achieve growth objectives, and that's what it's all about. So 2 courses coming up, one in Orange County, California, one in Dallas. And
Easy flights.
Easy flights, easy to get to, and we've got doctors signed up, and some are bringing along a team member as well. So it's I think it's an ideal thing for sure for doctors to know the material. We're going through a step-by-step system for being able to, I call them conversion questions, but taking our patients, guiding them from the understanding they have when they come in to the understanding they need to be able to make a buying decision and leave their credit card on the way out. Okay, so that's what that's all about. So doctors, treatment coordinators, people who talk to patients about money, people who talk to patients about scheduling, people who talk to patients about treatment. Okay, and so anyone has a role in communicating with patients directly in the office, face to face, even these days over video. Sometime I do lots of video consults. Yeah. So anyone who's involved with communicating with patients is an ideal fit to come and share time with us.
Is this a 1-day event, 2-day event? What's the
single day event? They're both on Saturdays, and so we're gonna run all day long on the Saturday. Okay?
So no sitting around.
No sitting around. No.
This is gonna be jam packed.
It is gonna be jam packed, and there's 8 hours of continuing education credit that comes along with it too. Okay.
I love it.
So it's real, and you know what? I'm big on making things no risk for people. You probably know this about me. We've talked before.
Oh yeah.
And our offer here is that any doctor who comes to this course and thinks that they can't get massive value out of it, they can come find me at the morning coffee break and I'll write them a check. If they can look me in the face and tell me that they can't take the information that we're sharing home and turn it into new profit in their practice.
So guys, the reason why I have this big grin is because he said the same thing for a marketing event that he did in Las Vegas. It was actually in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't write any checks. I was actually, and he actually told me, he was like, I might write you a check too, Glenn. So I was like, hey, did anyone? He's like, no. Everyone loved the event there. So guys, I can't think of anything more nifty, thrifty than that. But again, it's going back to basics, right? So Orange County and then also Dallas, and that's my hometown. Maybe I'll make an appearance. I don't know. So anyways, Nate, thank you so much for jumping on, man. It's always a pleasure, man. I didn't even know he was going to be here. I saw him, I was like, Nate, you got to come on to this podcast. So here we are. So guys, thank you so much. We'll see y'all next time.